Believe in Bigfoot? Dogman? Any cryptid? Are you skeptical?
Curious about the supernatural, conspiracy theories, the unknown? Then come join us as we explore facts, tall tales, and encounters on Creatures and Curiosities.
Hello and welcome to Creatures and Curiosities. I'm David.
And I'm Jake.
And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about a peculiar beast called the Pope Lick Monster. I had never heard of this guy before.
Same.
Until we started looking up, what do we want to do? And you came across this guy.
Yeah.
And the more I read about it, the more interesting it was.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a visual person. What got me was they had like it looked AI generated, but a picture of him. And it looked horrifying. I was like, what is this guy? Clicked on it and I was like, oh, there's deaths involved and all kinds of stuff.
I know it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of the Pope Lick Monster.
Right.
Okay. I had not heard that, but I have heard of the Goat Man.
Right. Same. Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure if they were one and the same or if this is another rendition of a Goat Man from another area.
Yeah.
But because I do know there are some tales of goat men across the country,
right?
Different regions,
kind of like stuff. Sasquatch and skunk ape,
right?
Yeah, different areas.
Same basic thing.
Yeah,
Bat Squatch and the Dogman,
right?
Yeah, a flying version of Dogman, which is kind of cool. But anyway, getting into the research on the Pope Lick Monster, where the fascination comes in, and I don't mean to make light of it because there has been loss of life. But we always talk about cryptids and the fact that there's been no death associated.
Right.
There's no known deaths due to Sasquatch.
Yeah.
There could be many.
Yeah.
As we talked about putting those maps of missing people over maps of Sasquatch sightings.
Yeah.
It's very possible that Sasquatch is killing people, but there's no evidence of it. Jersey Devil, all the different cryptids that we've done to date, there's no specific incident.
Yeah, nothing documented
where there is a death
right
due to that cryptid. In this particular case, there is.
Yeah.
Now, we'll preface that with there's been no actual sightings per se of this beast. The legend still exists, and the deaths are chalked up to this particular cryptid.
Yeah.
But nobody actually witnessed the cryptid killing these people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't want to get out there and say, oh no, this goat man is actually out there killing people.
Here's a video of it.
Here's a video of it. You're not going to find that. But there have been a number of deaths and injuries associated to the Pope Lick Monster. So we'll get into the description of this guy. First off, as we've already stated, he's also known as the Goat Man, which is probably the more popular name for him than the Pope Lick Monster. He's described as being this half man, half goat, or like a half sheep. And in some cases, he's been described as being this headless sheep hybrid. I don't know who would come up with that.
Yeah, I don't know how you would know it's a sheep hybrid.
If it doesn't have a sheep head or a goat head on it.
I guess if you see goat legs and it's standing up, you're thinking, man, it's a sheep.
I don't know who came up with that, but it was out there in the world of cryptids.
There's probably some drunk vagrant under the bridge who's like, he had no head.
Yeah, right. So he's been described as having a deformed body, goat legs, sharp horns like a goat would have. It has this alabaster face with wide set eyes and an aquiline nose, which I didn't even know what that was. I had to look that up.
Yeah.
And basically all it means is that people can have that as well. It's a description of having a prominent bridge. So the eagle beak, the hook nose, different variations of how it's described is really all that boils down to. And it's also known to have this long, greasy hair.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why it's greasy. Most sheep or goats that I'm aware of aren't really greasy
Yeah.
per se, but long greasy hair and cloven hooves. So clearly they're describing a goat. And all of the renditions and pictures and depictions of the Poplick monster, they always make it look like it's a bipedal goat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My wife, and I love goats too, but she's like obsessed with goats. If we go anywhere and there's goats and there's baby goats, she wants to get it. She wants it in the house. And goats are cool. I love goats. We actually want to get goats, but the second it stands on two legs, that's a demon. That's not a goat
He's
anymore.
gone.
Yeah.
It's either a skinwalker or a demon of some sort.
They go from cute to being demonic pretty quick.
Real quick. So. And, Grace was the same. She begged for goats. And I was just like, I just don't want any part of goats.
Yeah.
It's bad enough having to deal with horses
all
day long, but goats are just eating you out of house.
And there's no stories about horse standing up on 2 feet, but there are about goats. So why risk it?
Why risk it? Yeah. The location where the Poplick monster is said to be living is under the Norfolk Southern Railroad trestle over Poplick Creek in Louisville, Kentucky. So I was kind of interested in looking at this trestle. There's a bunch of pictures of it, of course, because it's a real place. And the trestle is 772 feet long. So it's a good spanned bridge. And it's 90 feet high. So anybody that would go out onto this, you've lost your mind.
You're foolish, yeah. You're playing with fire.
You're playing with fire. Just imagine you get 100 feet out onto that track and a train's coming.
Right.
You can't get off of it.
No. And we talked about this before. Even if you are 100 feet or so off, even if a train's not moving at a good clip, even if it's 20 miles an hour, what average person can run 20 miles an hour or more than 20 miles an hour on train tracks?
Right.
Because I've read stories that it's not like they're butted up against each other. There's kind of a gap in between them. So if you were running...
The ties, right? The railroad ties.
Yeah. You couldn't just probably run at a normal gait. You'd have to almost time your jumps. So then you're not just running as fast as you could. And I'm guessing you're not Usain Bolt. So how are you going to outrun the train?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's just not going to happen.
Which to me leads more to the credibility that there's something out there killing them.
And I agree with that, because when you get into the behavior of the Poplick monster, it kind of lends some credibility to the fact that these people go out there for a reason.
Right.
And then they're stuck and they end up dying.
Yeah.
And so when we were looking into the behavior, it said that this creature lures its victims onto the trestle by either using hypnosis, which that's frightening in and of itself, right?
Because there's zero control over that.
Yeah. I mean, if he can take control of your mind, it's
game over,
screwed. Or he uses voice mimicry. So I guess like calling you, or you kind of like the Appalachian Mountains where these things are whispering your name, and calling to you in the wild. And we've always talked about if that happened, you wouldn't want to go investigate.
But depending on what it was.
Like the Wampus cat where she cries.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these cryptids use voice mimicry.
Yeah.
They lure you in. They make you think somebody needs help or that it's somebody that you know or whatever. And then off you go to your death, unwillingly, of course. But this guy either uses hypnosis or voice mimicry to lure you out onto that trestle. And then once you get out there,
you're screwed.
You're screwed. Because
SOL,
if a train is coming, you're not going to outrun it. You're not going to be able to get off. If you jump, it's a 90-foot drop to your death.
Or if you survive, you're not going to be able to walk away.
No.
So then you're just going to lay there and die.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd rather die.
Just
than have your legs just literally obliterated out from underneath you and compound fractures all the way through your hips and stuff. That'd just be a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
But they say that the sight alone of the Poplick monster may actually cause people to jump off that trestle. So they get out there and then this thing starts coming down the tracks towards you.
Yeah.
And even if there's no train, you can't outrun this guy either.
So,
And so they choose to jump to their death.
Hoping they'll make it.
Torn apart by a goat man.
Yeah.
The concept is frightening.
It is. because I'd try to cap that thing. And then it's probably demonic, so I wouldn't be able to do anything. And it just end up ripping me to shreds on the train track. And then they'd say, oh, this dummy was playing on the tracks.
Yep, got run over by
a train and
dismembered.
Yep.
All along, it was a goat.
Yeah.
That's just terrible. So in some legend, people have said that this Popelic monster may actually jump onto the roof of passing cars.
Which we've had with other cryptids.
We have had that.
Yep.
In this particular case, I don't quite understand that because the car is not going to drive over the trestle.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either.
And I'm not sure where the car would be driving to. I mean, why would you drive your car up to a trestle that you can't cross with a vehicle? And so not being familiar with the area, I don't know where there would be a passing car. I've looked at numerous photographs of the trestle, and it seems to be out in the middle of like forest land. And
yeah, my understanding is everybody gets there by hiking.
Yeah, it's like a park setting. I saw different names for that particular area, but Popelic Park. I've seen something about Floyd's something. I don't remember exactly, but the area does not look conducive to driving a vehicle where this thing would be jumping on you.
And some of the stuff I read said that the quote-unquote trail that leads up that people are taking, there's actually a fence that has a lock on it with signs that says no trespassing.
Yeah.
But people are kind of prying the gate open and just slipping through, or they're hopping it.
Yeah, so I know the railway erected that after, and I'm going to kind of get into that a little bit later, but they put that up due to these deaths and the fact that once this got publicized and a little like short film was made about it and stuff, they decided we've got to do something to stop specifically like teenagers and stuff from going out there and thinking this was cool.
And what I was getting at with that is the picture that I saw, it doesn't look like it looks like a trail you'd walk. It doesn't look like a dirt road that a car could take at all. So I don't see how a car would be getting there.
Yeah. One of the other things that people have said that it may do is attack its victims with a blood-stained axe. Now, I know that during the origin stories, this thing has ripped people apart. And we'll get into that in the first story, which is the most fun of the stories about him. I don't know that he used an axe. I don't know. He might just use his horns and his teeth and whatnot to shred people.
Yeah.
But the legend says that if he does come at you with this blood-stained axe, this is a good reason why you jump off the trestle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Would you rather fall to your death 90 feet, potentially survive?
Yeah.
Or be torn to shreds by a demonic goat with an axe?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, because you got to think like if you're, midway of that 700 something feet trestle and you see that, you can't outrun it.
Yeah.
You're assuming it's, at least if it was me, I'm assuming it's demonic. And you're thinking, maybe I'll survive the jump. Because every now and then you read those stories of like, guy jumps from 3-story building, walks away without a scratch. How does that happen? Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
So you kind of hope maybe you hit a couple tree branches on the way down to break your fall. I don't know.
I think at this trestle, I'm not sure you're going to be hitting tree branches.
No, definitely not.
90 feet is a long way down. I don't think you'd survive it, but stranger things have happened. So getting into the possible origins of this guy, the first one that I'm going to talk about here is clearly not real.
Right, yeah.
Okay. It was done kind of as a marketing scheme, I think probably for the guy's film.
Yeah.
That was coming up. But it's a fun story.
Right.
And so because it's fun, we're going to repeat it. Just know that this didn't happen.
There's no way.
There's just no way this one happened. But there's this guy by the name of Colonel Beauregard Schildknecht. And even though there's like no record or any evidence that he ever served in any armed service or anything to get that name Colonel, be kind of like maybe Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders, yes, exactly what I was thinking.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
There's something about Kentucky and colonels, right? They like that. But this Colonel Schildknecht was the owner and the ringmaster of a traveling circus that had performed pretty much across the heartland of America and into most of the southern territories, beginning around, say the 1930s or so. And this guy has an extremely poor reputation in the carnival business.
Which back then, that's That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. But, nowadays, it's like if you work at a carny, I think you have to be a heroin addict.
Yeah, you got to be smoking meth or something.
Yeah, you don't know how to put anything together,
Yeah.
and the carnival rights fall apart and people sue. And
Yep.
Yeah, but back then, carnivals were a bigger business. And even though carnivals are fun and people love the games, even though 98% of them are ripoffs and
Right.
they're all designed, so that you lose and you're winning a 25-cent item, but you've dropped $40 on it.
Yep, exactly.
To win some piece of crap that's covered in dirt and the stitches are coming out of the little animals and whatnot. But anyway, back in those days, the carnival was a kind of a big business, and it went around, and of course, sideshows and things of that nature became very popular. But this guy was always considered to be just a liar and a cheat, and his crew, which are affectionately known as carnies nowadays, right? They were more of a gang than they were entertainers. And every time they left a town, there was always this series of unsolved thefts and missing persons and accidental deaths and things that would follow this circus.
Yeah.
Everybody knew they were just a bunch of criminals, on a road trip and putting on shows. So the legend goes that on a stormy night,
that's how they all start.
Everything's a stormy night.
Yeah.
That always reminds me of the Jersey Devil story.
Yep.
Right? They stop in this small town near Beltsville, Maryland, and the bearded lady and the knife thrower who was in their circus, her name was Madame Bristells, and she discovered this abandoned infant that was laying in a crate just outside her tent. So she goes over to this crate. She takes a peek inside, and of course, this always reminds me of Rosemary's Baby again. You know, the
little demon baby,
demonic thing in the stroller. But she looks into this crate, and she sees this severely malformed child with stubs protruding from its forehead. It had misshapen legs that pretty much looked like cloven feet instead of human feet.
Yeah.
And I guess she felt bad for it. Yeah. At that point, I think I'd just maybe turn around and go back in my tent. But
you're a carny.
But you're a carny.
Yeah.
And so, she probably figured it was, one of the crew's kids or something. So she takes it in and she gives it food and shelter, and she's trying to, show it some love and whatnot. But old Colonel Schildknecht, he takes one look at this creature, abomination, and he figures, hey, I can make some money off this guy.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like the story of Pinocchio and everything else. The carnies are always looking for a new gig, right?
Yeah.
Something that's going to attract people.
Make a quick buck.
Whether it's a 9,000-pound pig or an alligator with two heads, anything out of the ordinary, they love it. And they're going to make some money off of it. So he finds this little freak. So he decides he's going to put it in his freak show. So he takes this child and he raises it in captivity, never letting it out of his sight or out of the cage that he's imprisoned it in.
It's going to be more wild and messed up that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as this thing begins to grow in size and strength and becomes, more and more grotesque, its little stubs that were in the forehead, they start becoming these full-sized horns, and his little temperament is horrible.
Well, they're probably poking it and kicking its cage every time they walk by it, and so rightfully so.
He's been treated so cruelly that he's becoming just a product of his environment.
He's an animal.
Yeah. And so he spends most of his life in chains and chained to a wall or chained inside his cage next to the circus train. He's whipped daily just for fun. The carnies are beating him and spitting on him and doing whatever they can do. He's fed like gruel and leftover scraps out of the grease pits, the Midway's vendors. And he's been treated so horribly that this thing is just this nasty creature.
It's a monster, yeah.
It's literally a monster, right? And so one night during this massive thunderstorm, the train's passing through a town called Fisherville, and it's on its way to a performance in Louisville, and a bolt of lightning comes down, hits the tracks, and causes the train to derail. and it derails right before it hits that trestle at Pope Creek. So this wreckage probably killed most of the carnies and the clowns and the sideshow freaks.
Yeah.
But it didn't get all of them. They believe there were some survivors because they found body parts as far away as 2 miles from the crash. So people did get away from the train and were attempting to flee the area.
Yeah.
But alas,
Yeah.
they didn't get too far because there was at least one known survivor, and that was the Pope
Of
monster.
course, yes. Well, people die in train accidents nowadays.
Yes.
With all our safety protocols and safety measures and stuff. And, back then I'm assuming they didn't have these OSHA regulations and all that stuff that they're like, well, you got to make sure you have a seatbelt for every passenger and
right.
foam cushion headrests and whatever else. So it makes sense that the little demon would make it away.
Assuming that this Pope monster makes it out of that wreckage,
Yeah.
which clearly that's what the legend entails, he is finally set free from his life of torture and imprisonment, and he decides to take revenge on all of the survivors. And so you can just picture these people running from the train wreckage. They're already mortified, that half of their crew's been killed, and
Yeah.
some of them are probably injured, and those that aren't are probably trying to help the injured, you know, as they're running away from this. But to their surprise, here comes the Goat Man. And when he catches up to them, he rips them apart.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Tortured him for
he
years.
had enough.
Yeah.
And, imagine if you were in that situation. You've been chained to a wall and caged and spit on and urinated on and humiliated and fed nothing but gruel and grease and all that crap. And then you had an opportunity
and I was
take one of these
Goat
guys
Man
out, and you're Goat Man.
Yeah. It would look like I killed people with an axe because, it'd be brutal. You'd go through and just all that bent up rage over the years of just sitting in a cage. Yeah.
You'd be goring them with your horns and stomping them with your hooves. And so Colonel Schildneck's body actually was never found. And it's suspected that a few of his crew and his clowns and circus freaks and other dangerous animals may have also survived that deadly accident, but they were never found as well. So it's pretty clear that the Goat Man annihilated everybody. And so since nobody ever showed up and there were no survivors to tell the story, it's pretty clear that the Goat Man took care of business.
Yeah.
So that's one legend. Now, now that's a fun one.
Right.
Because it makes sense. They torture this little thing and it escapes. It exacts its revenge. And it's right there at the trestle.
Yeah.
And so where's it going to live?
Right there.
Right there at the trestle.
Yeah, that's the start of a horror movie that I'd be interested in.
Yes.
If that started out with that, as like the premise of the movie and then it flashes to current day.
Yeah, that makes it fun.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to say it other than horrifying events spark human interest.
Right.
And so...
Well, think about a car accident.
Oh, yeah.
People can't drive by without rubbernecking.
You have to look.
You have to look.
And even if it's a decapitation or something that you wish you hadn't seen...
Yeah.
You're
looking.
Human interest still says, I have to look.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to slow down and cause another accident.
Yeah.
Which is usually what happens. But in this particular case, we know that story is not true. That was a made up story in order to market things.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So now let's get into some other accounts of how this guy actually could have come about. So first off, let's say this. Some people do believe that if this guy does actually exist, he could be a result of an unnatural human-animal relationship or possibly a demon-animal relationship.
Which
we've talked about in the past.
We've talked about in the past.
So when
biblical proof of that.
Biblical proof that those types of things had occurred and that demons were able to mate with humans and later animals, they could create an abomination.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that it does exist.
Yeah.
Even though most people are going to say, yeah, you guys are nuts.
That's okay.
and even if you went with the biblical reference, where God wipes out the earth because DNA had been corrupted by fallen angels, even if you do go that direction, then you would say, so God wiped them all out. They wouldn't be here. He's the omnipotent one. He wouldn't go, oh, I accidentally left a goat man under a trestle, you know. Yeah. And so there's the argument that they should not exist because God did wipe them out. And then there's the argument that maybe due to free will that the demons were able to do it again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That is up to your own religious belief or however you want to encapsulate that. Just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah. That's how I think it's going.
Since there are so many demonic things out there in our world, I think it's a good possibility.
Yeah.
But let's get into a couple other accounts. Another version that's commonly told by people that live in that area is that the monster is really just a reincarnated form of a farmer who had sacrificed goats in exchange for satanic powers. Now, I was kind of curious about that. So I wanted to look into that more because when you look that up, that's just what people have said. That there's a satanic farmer that maybe he died and was reincarnated as this twisted monster, you know, that became half goat and half man. But if you actually get into the story and you look that up, in the mid-1970s, there were rumors of a cult and ritualistic stuff started in the Pope Lick Road area, and there were reports of missing dogs and cats and other domestic animals, and people were kind of suspecting that they were falling prey to like bloodletting ceremonies by these farmers out there. And there was a mysterious farm known as the Four Winds, which was down the street a few miles from the train trestle. And the owners of that farm were suspected of running this cult. And they worshipped what's now known as the Pope Lick Monster as a living embodiment of Baphomet.
Which, I mean, obviously, Baphomet, he's a goat.
He's a goat.
Yeah.
And a demon.
Right.
And so people said that these farmers at that particular ranch or farm, they did worship this guy. And so I looked up, is this real? Right? I mean, is the Four Winds a real farm? And it turns out it is. And it was.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's still in existence. I mean, the land obviously is still there.
Right.
But the legend says that the Four Winds was surrounded by this red and black painted fence. And throughout the 80s and 90s, there was a sign at the front gate that warned that trespassers would be persecuted, not prosecuted. So that's kind of a difference, right? And the people in that area said that there were always these strange tribal drum beats and chanting often heard in the woods behind the barn on that particular farm. So it's believed that the Four Winds was made up of local farmers who were Satan worshipers. They're dabbling in like black magic and, the art of Satanism. And the cult revolved around a family of farmers who shunned outsiders, and they would cast spells to protect the farmland. So it was believed that anyone who wronged that family would be visited by a half-goat, half-human monster that was named Capra, and he was summoned to take his vengeance out on the wrongdoers or the trespassers to protect that family from all outside sources. So people back then, of course, said, if you ever encounter that family of farmers, proceed with caution, show them respect, get off their land, don't do anything, because if they cast this spell on you, Capra was going to come get you. So it was known as Capra then, which was supposedly the form of Baphomet, which is now known as the Pope Lick Monster or Goat Man. So that sounds like a fairly reasonable version.
I mean, you got people nowadays who I believe sell their soul and do demonic things to get power or money and worldly things.
Totally believe that.
So if you're a farmer down on his luck and the only way you make money is obviously if your land is fruitful, and somehow, some way you find out that if you start doing these demonic sacrifices to keep your land good and keep your family prosperous, you might start off thinking it's not a big deal, and then next thing you know, you're head over heels in a demonic cult.
Yeah. And you have Baphomet on your property,
Right.
guarding your assets.
Yeah.
So the concept there is very frightening, because if you're actually dealing with a demon right out of hell that is protecting the interests of these farmers,
Right.
and you happen across that and you're trespassing or you're doing something,
Yeah.
even if it's unintentional,
Yeah.
and you could fall victim to all the powers of hell, that's pretty frightening.
Well, that's why you end up looking dead to the point it looks like you got chopped up with an axe.
Yeah.
I think the axe thing is just some teenagers who saw too many slasher films.
I agree. I don't think this thing would need an axe.
Because I think it's demonic.
It's demonic.
So it doesn't need
it could just
that sort of weapon. It just rip you to shreds.
tear you limb from limb.
Yeah. Or lure you on, entice you, use the mimicries and get you on and just let the train kill you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do anything.
Doesn't really have to do much, but play with your mind.
Yeah.
Which isn't real hypnosis, but it's a form of it. Same with the, Appalachian forest.
Right.
You're not actually controlling my mind, but if I hear a woman screaming or a child screaming off in the distance, I'm going to want to go. So you're playing with my mind.
Right.
So.
Yep. And I think that would, I don't know. I try and put myself in that position, right? So if I'm out there.
Well, you wouldn't be in the middle of a 700-something foot trestle anyway.
But I wouldn't want to go out there.
Right.
But what if this thing could lure you out there?
Yeah.
And you find yourself out there. I don't know. First off, I wouldn't walk out on a trestle unless I was enticed somehow.
Yeah, maybe someone's got their foot stuck in one of those slats, and then when you get closer, it's not someone, it's something.
Right. And then, I was thinking back to what you said, where you read a thing on Reddit, I believe, where a guy actually went out there, got out onto the trestle.
Yeah.
But didn't go very far, but he did go out there.
He was the one that I read about that he said that those, the slats were so big in those railroad ties that you couldn't run at a normal pace.
And then he was able to put his ear to the track.
Yep.
And he could feel the rumble or hear the rumble.
He could hear
of
it.
the train.
Yeah.
So he books off the tracks.
Yep.
But then the train doesn't show up for like 30 minutes or so.
Yeah. And he said when it showed up, it was moving at a pretty good clip. Like it was booking. And obviously during that time he heard it to when it came, it could have picked up speed. But one of the comments he made in his little post was there's no way if he was out there, he would have been able to outrun it because of how fast it was moving.
Right. So,
but he couldn't feel it until he listened to it. He couldn't feel it walking.
And then obviously just listening to the train track gives you no indication whatsoever as how far away this train is.
Right.
Because if this train is moving at 40 miles an hour, but it took a half an hour to get there, then obviously the vibration came through that track from a great distance away.
Right.
So there wouldn't be any way to really judge, can I make it 772 feet across that just by listening? I don't know. I wouldn't want to go out there, but I feel for the victims that actually did go out there, because were they enticed? Were they lured by some demonic thing? Or were they just stupid enough to go out there?
Yeah.
I don't know. And there's no way anybody's going to know.
And I think we'll get into it later, but one of them, I think, did what we might have done. I don't know if I would have gone on the trestle, but you go out there looking for the Popelic monster.
Right.
And then you find yourself stuck on the trestle.
I think I would rather just stand not on the trestle, but
look for it.
Stay out there, look for it, and go, whoop, I didn't see it, and leave instead of, going out.
But that's the thing, is you go out just to look, and then that's when the enticement begins. Because I was trying to think while you were saying that as well, like, why would I even go out there? You're trespassing on the land, you're looking for something. You shouldn't be out there anyway, but if you're going out there for the monster, like, okay, I'm going to go out there. I know I shouldn't be out here, but I'm not going to go on that trestle because obviously I'm going to die. But now you're out there and you're by it, and maybe you got your binos and you're looking around, and then you see that in the middle of the trestle, or you hear something out there.
That'd be time for me to run, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't go out on the trestle.
Like, I've read these stories,
But your point is taken, because if it is able to lure you out through whether it's hypnosis or mimicry, I don't think that you have a choice at that point. Right. I mean, you see it, it's luring you out there. I think the whole point of the legend is that you have somewhat lost control of your own thought process and you head out there.
The other potential too is maybe the people going out there aren't like you and I. where we think this thing is real and we think that it's evil. Maybe they think it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun to go out there and look around and say that we went out there for the monster. Because, you know, a lot of people, especially on social media, do stuff just to say they did it.
Right.
Oh, look at me.
And we would.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we would go out to go hunt for it.
Right.
But I'm not stupid enough to go across that trestle.
We'd go out there knowing it's out there, where I think those other people I'm talking about go out there. They do not think it's out there.
Yeah.
And then they find themselves in a predicament.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, moving on to another potential origin.
Yep.
This is the one that research gives the most credibility to. And that is that there is this guy named Charles McCartney. And he is a nomadic traveler. And occasionally he does preaching. And he travels up and down the eastern United States from like 1930 through like 1987. So, you know, a fair amount of time that he's, you know, put into this. And he travels the back roads of the country in a little wagon that's pulled by a team of like 9 to 15 goats. He would pull into these towns and everybody would come from all over just to visit this goat man. Right?
I probably would. Yeah.
I mean, here's this guy coming, and like I said, he does preaching and he's a storyteller, and he pulls into the town, but he's got these 15 goats, or, you know, anywhere between 9 and 15. There was no real number on that, pulling this little ramshackle wagon of his. And as he pulls into town, people would run over just to see his little entourage of goats.
Yep. My wife would want to.
Absolutely, 100%.
There's goats somewhere that we have to go.
We've got to go.
Yeah.
Right. And if they're pygmy goats, even better.
Yeah, let's see if we could take one home. That's what she'd say.
Right. So the historical record shows that McCartney stopped regularly at Pope Lick near the train trestle and the Four Winds Farm over several decades. And it's believed that his family may have lived in that area also, and that he possibly had a relationship with that Madame Bristells, who was the knife thrower, bearded lady in the circus.
Right.
And so that was a real thing. So this original story of the Pope Lick monster being in a train derailment and killing everybody, not true. But the circus apparently was true, because this lady actually had a relationship with this guy that we're talking about, Mr. McCartney. So that Madame Bristells was, of course, credited with the discovery of the goat man when she supposedly found it, you know, in a crate, and it was a little nasty little freak, and she brought it in. So by all account, McCartney was this storyteller, and he was known to tell tales to all of his visitors, and that's why people would flock to him. And one of his most popular tales involved the secret knowledge of an ancient graveyard that was hidden somewhere in the woods. And it was right there around the Pope Lick train trestle. And according to him, the ground beneath the cemetery was cursed by some evil spirit or power. And anybody that was buried in that particular cemetery would be resurrected as an obscene creature, neither human nor beast, but this monstrous amalgamation of both human and creature.
Yeah.
And so it's believed that McCartney's story, it was the first campfire tale of Capra, or the Goat Man, or Baphomet, or whoever is out there, right? Whoever this was.
Whatever goat-headed demon you want to call it.
Yeah. So when people look at these legends, the fact that McCartney was a real person and told these stories of these corpses basically being resurrected as demonic, creaturous things, they believe that that is the most reliable account of what this actually could be. And you know what? I think when listening to all the different stories and researching all of them, I'm somewhere between the fallen angel mating with goats to, I don't know that I would believe that just because you're buried in a cemetery that your body's going to be
I'm not
brought
sure about
up
that
as
one.
a goat.
It's a good campfire story.
It's a great campfire story and something that would be fun to sit and listen to.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, especially back in the day when, you know, the guys rolling through with a wagon being pulled by goats and he's telling you these stories. That'd be a lot of fun to listen to. But I don't believe that your soul is susceptible to something outside your control. Like when I die, if you buried me somewhere, how does my faith just get washed away because you buried me in a burial ground that was possessed by evil? I just don't. I don't believe that.
Yeah, because I believe that your soul's already gone.
It's already gone.
So when you died in that hospital or whatever, wherever, in the X amount of days it takes to get you buried.
Now, I guess your physical body may have been taken over by an evil spirit and brought up out of the grave, and now you're walking around as a goat man.
Goat man zombie.
Yeah. While your soul might be in heaven, your physical body is possessed and walking around and luring kids to their death on a trestle.
Which is even more terrifying.
It's even more terrifying. But so, I guess all things are possible, right?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know which one of those I would believe. I have a tendency to believe just in that demonic spiritual realm.
Right.
Where Dogman and things of that nature are demonic spirits here on earth.
Yeah.
And I would think that the goat man would be similar. And the fact that it's a goat and you have the whole Baphomet reference.
Exactly.
It's just, I don't know. It might be that.
Right. And then that kind of just goes with the farmers.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of a couple tales there, like
dabbling in satanic cult.
Yeah. Of something that's already there. I'm not saying that they summoned it and it came out of this graveyard and then walked over. I'm saying this half goat demon thing's already there. Yeah. And then they've done whatever to appease it. Yeah.
And then got their rewards were, their earthly rewards.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's all scary to think about.
Yeah.
We definitely have to go out there and not go across that trestle.
Right. That's why we have to be together. So someone can kick some sense into the other one.
Yeah. Now, if we both walk out there,
then we kind of deserve it at that point.
I guess we deserve it. But so we did talk about at the beginning that there were deaths associated with the goat man. So we're going to go over those. We mean literally no disrespect to the people that died. And there's no way to tell if they were out there searching for it, if they were lured by it. I have no idea why they were out there or why they did what they did, but these are just the facts. There was a 26-year-old girl by the name of Raquel Bain, and on April 23rd, 2016, she was hit by a train while searching for the monster. And the only reason we know that is she had her boyfriend with her.
Right.
And he survived because when the train came, he kind of jumps the track, jumps down, not the 90-foot drop, but grabs on and is hanging on for dear life as the train goes by. And apparently he survives. Now, a little bit later, when we talk about like the popularity of this, I'm going to kind of address that specific situation hanging on the side of the trestle.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently this kid did survive, and that's a real story. Then in May of 2019, a 15-year-old girl by the name of Savannah Bright, she was killed by the train while on the tracks and near that trestle.
And I thought I read her friend was with her too, and it sounds like her friend sustained some injuries, but she didn't pass away.
Correct. And I believe that this is the case where her parents filed a lawsuit against the train. Let's see. In 1988, a guy by the name of Jack Baum, 17-year-old, he was hit and killed by the train. In 1986, John List was 22 years old. He was hit and killed by the train.
Yep.
There was an unknown or an unidentified male in 1994 killed by the train, but he was out riding an ATV on it, and it overturned, and he got stuck out there when the train came, and he got hit. And then another guy in 2000, 19-year-old, fell to his death after encountering a train. So one of these that I read, and I think it was John List, when he got hit by the train, he was literally knocked like 32 yards or something, down the train track and then fell off. And then the one who fell to his death, I think he wasn't hit. I think he chose to jump.
Yeah. Hope
So,
for the best kind of thing.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
And didn't make it, of course. So now when you research this, it will literally state that there are dozens, which in my book means 24 or more.
At least, or, even if you want to say it's at least 20 or more, but yeah, I would.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to say dozens, right?
It's
a
24.
dozen is 12.
Exactly.
Dozens is, more than one.
If we're talking baker's dozens too, you got to add a couple on there.
Yeah, you got to add a couple. So we're talking a lot of deaths and more injuries.
Right.
But
frustratingly,
can't find it.
No.
There's no record of it.
And we searched and searched and searched. And
it
was frustrating because even if you type in specifically Popelick monster deaths, you'll get the ones you listed off. And then right under that, it'll say dozens of deaths.
Yeah.
After it lists off 6.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So whether you're looking at Wikipedia or any number of sites relative to the Trestle, the train company, the Popelick monster, the area, just, Fisherville or putting in Pope Lick.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you search. You get the same 6 names with a little caveat that, and there's more.
Yeah. Dozens
more deaths and
injuries.
And injuries. But there's no listing.
No. The only other injury is the 15-year-old girl, her friend. That's the only one I could find that somebody was injured.
Yeah.
And lived to tell about it.
Yeah.
There's not a single one listed.
Yeah.
But everything else says it ticks me off.
Yeah, it does, because when you're trying to do a podcast on, something like this or report about an incident, specific incidents, and then you can't find them, but all indications are that there's many, many more.
Well, like we were saying,
it is frustrating.
When we looked at it at face value, we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, when we were looking what to research, and you saw it, and at face value, it says dozens of deaths associated. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
And you get 6.
You get 6. Anyway, maybe it's best that, we don't get into too many deaths anyway. And the last thing we want to do is open up old wounds of family members in the off chance that one of them is listening to this podcast,
Definitely not complaining that there's less deaths, but frustrating that they say that there's more and there's not.
Right. So the Popelick monster is obviously a terrifying thing. And because of the fact that people are going out there to look for it or are getting lured out there, whatever the case, it is the Popelick monster that's killing them.
Yeah.
Right?
It has to be. Because
that's just the way I look at it.
If you're going out there just for the legend.
Right. Like if you and I were to go, which just happened, right, in Washington, the 2 guys that went out Bigfoot hunting.
Yep.
And they both died.
Yeah.
Due to weather exposure.
Yeah. Bigfoot killed those guys.
Yeah. So Bigfoot killed those guys because even if Bigfoot isn't real, let's just say it doesn't exist at all.
But he does.
Yeah. Let's say he doesn't exist at all. The fact that they believed it and went out to pursue their belief killed them.
Yeah.
And so Bigfoot killed them.
Yeah.
That's how you got to look at it.
That's how I chalk it up, yeah.
It's kind of like a COVID death, right?
Yeah.
Remember that? Hundreds of thousands of people died from COVID, and then you start looking at it, it's like,
that
guy had a motorcycle accident, but he had COVID, and it's like, COVID death. Oh, no, it's because he hit a car at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But anyway, same basic principle. The Popelick monster killed these people.
Right.
Because if they were out there looking for it, it was because of him that they died. And that's a travesty.
It is.
Especially young girls and 17-year-old and 19-year-old boys and stuff that are out there crossing a trestle. That's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of the popularity of the Popelick monster. There was this little movie called The Legend of the Popelick Monster. And it's a 16-minute film. And I think the guy that did that, his name was Schildknecht. And so I think the original little story, and I don't even know this, but the original story about Colonel Schildknecht was probably made up by him in order to promote his little film.
Right.
All right. So anyway, I don't know that. So if I'm wrong on that, skip it. But the name Schildknecht is not very common.
Yeah,
right?
It's not Smith.
And so Schildknecht is from Kentucky, and he made this film that premiered on December 29th, 1988 at the Uptown Theater. And most of that film that he had made was shot at the Public Trestle, but any of the scenes that were showing characters up on the trestle were actually shot at a different location. Well, the fact that people were watching this movie and they saw people on the trestle and whatnot, Norfolk Southern Railway, they were extremely upset over this whole thing because they thought that it would now encourage more people, specifically teenagers and stuff, to come visit the trestle. And they found that in one of the scenes, which literally was the case of Roquel Bain, they show this high school student narrowly escaping the approaching train by hanging off the side of the trestle. Well, I think what they're doing is depicting the boyfriend that did survive.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did. Well, the people from the Norfolk Southern Railway said that the reality of this is that very few people would have the strength to hang on to the side of a trestle for the 5 to Lord knows how many minutes, depending on the length of the train. They wouldn't be able to hang on for that length of time for that train to clear a 772-foot trestle.
Right.
And they also said that the vibration alone from the train is so strong that the ground beneath the trestle will shake as the train passes.
So the vibration going through your arms would be...
So if you're hanging on for dear life onto and I don't know if it would be the metal portion of the trestle that he's hanging onto, or if he's, grasping onto the end of a railroad tie.
Right.
But you picture, what are those ties? Are those 6x6?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
They're big.
They're big.
You couldn't grip around it like a pull-up bar or something. You'd have to
have to wrap an arm over it or something, But anyway, just the violent shaking of that as this train is going over, they're saying most people would lose their grip, fall to their death.
Yeah.
And they were so worried that this film would now add to the death toll that they issued a statement, which was actually read at the premiere, which warned of the trestle's dangers and basically informed the audience that anybody caught on that trestle would be prosecuted for trespassing. So they went out and they erected, I forget how big it was, it's like a 10-foot fence or something.
I believe so, yeah.
No trespassing signs all over it. Everything they can do, they can humanly do to keep people off of that.
Yeah.
They've gone out and done. And despite that, they're still getting sued.
Yeah.
The people that have lost their lives, the family members, are still suing the railroad companies for allowing people out there. Well, I'm sorry, but they've done everything they can to keep people out.
And actually that I did read that girl's boyfriend, who, one, apparently he was able to hang on. I guess he was a pretty experienced martial artist and big into fitness, but he also got charged with trespassing. Oh. So not only did his girlfriend die, then he got charged with trespassing.
Yeah.
After
double whammy.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
So they're not joking. They will prosecute.
Yeah. And they should.
Right. It'll keep you safe.
Yeah.
You're not running out there on that trestle getting ran over.
Crazy that people would even attempt it. 772 feet long. That's a long distance. I mean, you're looking at 300 feet is a football field.
Yep.
And so you're looking at 2 to 2.5 football fields in length.
Yeah.
And if you're really good at the 100-yard dash, most guys are running the 40 and 6.
Yeah.
I mean, some are way faster.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, just if you or I were to try and run it, I'd be about 22 seconds. You'd probably be 8, 9.
Yeah.
The athletes are running it in 4, 6 and stuff like that. But imagine just trying to sprint 2 football fields in length while you're hopping the distance between all of the ties. There's no way you could get off of that thing.
No.
And I just can't imagine why anybody would think that this would be fun to cross it.
Yeah.
Because even if you just lost your balance and fell, if you were afraid of heights or something, and you look down between the rail ties and you realize I'm 90 feet up.
Get some vertigo and
get some vertigo. Get a little balance loss and over you go. I can't imagine anybody doing it, but they are doing it. So if you're listening to the podcast and you do go out there, stay off the trestle.
Even if you see somebody on there, because it's the goat man.
Yeah, it's the goat man out there. Don't get lured in.
Yep.
Turn around and run. 2 more things relative to its popularity is Destination America's Monsters and Mysteries in America. They covered the legend of the goat man in 2013 in an episode called Ozarks. It's a good one. Got to watch that.
Yep.
And what we talk about on a lot of our episodes is the fact that the legend is embraced by the community.
Yeah.
So the legend of the goat man is celebrated during a festival in Louisville, and it's held annually in the fall.
Yep.
Generally in October, right?
Right. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think this last one was around like October 11th or something. But it spans over days, and then there's little things that you can do.
Yeah.
So it's free to get in, free to park, but then you have to buy like your events.
Yeah, they have
isn't there a fun one where they do a hike or something?
Yeah, I don't remember what the phrase they use for it is, but they said it's like the combination of a haunted hike and an escape room on the hike. So you go through, and I'm guessing you have to quickly, because it's the goat man is chasing you, you have to quickly solve these clues to get through the hike.
Oh, nice.
So,
well, we should go back and do that.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be a fun one.
And go check out the trestle.
And check out the trestle.
I mean, we would never do that. That's trespassing.
That's right. That's right. Well, you can walk up to the fence and look at it and see if
we'll just take some binos
out there.
Yeah.
So, something that is definitely on our bucket list we're going to have to do. And, I've been in Kentucky. Had I have known about this, I would have gone to see it. But Pope Lick Monster, it meant nothing to me at the time.
Right.
And I've done a lot of travels just recently. I just literally got back from Texas and New Orleans. And our next episode, in fact, that we're going to be talking about is the Honey Island Swamp Monster.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to shoot pictures of it as I'm driving by the Honey Island Swamp so I could send it to you and say, oh my God, look where I am.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. And like I said, when I was during my travels, the whole area there in the French Quarters, I went through Houma. I did New Orleans and most of the parishes around there. The swamplands, the bayous.
Yeah.
I did shoot pictures and was sending them. The Rougarou lives there.
Oh, it's clear as day.
It's just 100%.
Yeah, those swamps, they got the Honey Island guy out there.
They got the Honey Island monster.
Lizard man.
They're all out there. We'll be talking about in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's Lizard Man. I wouldn't doubt that the Goat Man lives there.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just picture perfect. The swamps, the swampland, and just the vast area. I could literally just picture the Rougarou out there.
Yeah.
Of course, I wanted to see it.
Of course, yes.
But I didn't. But I did get to eat some beignets.
Oh, man, the pictures of the food, I was salivating every time you sent me one.
Oh, it was
amazing. It looked amazing.
Jambalaya and red beans and rice and all the
proper jambalaya.
Yeah.
Red beans and rice,
shrimp Creole. And I'm telling you what, we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And got to go back because the Honey Island Swamp, they do tours. They put you out on those airboats and you roll through there looking for the monster.
Yeah.
And
you got to do that.
I think it was like $65 or something.
Worth it.
Can't even remember, but absolutely worth it. That's another thing on the bucket list. So we'll hit the Honey Island Swamp and then we'll head up to Louisville, look for the Goat Man and see what we can come up with. In the meantime, I hope that everybody enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to having you back in 2 weeks for the Honey Island Swamp Monster. Yeah. So you got anything else, Jake, before we conclude?
That's it.
All right. Well, then have a good day, everybody.
Take it easy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the show and you want to help us out, then go ahead and give us a follow, leave us a review, and don't forget to turn on the automatic download button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And as always, if you've had any experiences, stories, thoughts, comments, or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to cryptidfanatic@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to be on the show or just have your story featured during one of our episodes.